Thank you, Ella. Thank you for your hard work in the plasma times and so on, editing and arranging all of that.
Thank you very much, Ella. It's a lot of work has been going on, and a lot of work is completed, and hopefully in the coming days we'll complete a lot of other things which have been outstanding for a long time. Are there any questions, or we just nearly into 3.5 hours of time of teaching?
Yes, I realize we're getting on there. Mr. Kesh, Jay had a question in the Q&A and really wanted it answered. He asks, Mr. Kesh, in the story where the creator says, "Let there be light," were there any forms of life or humans on Earth before the light we see today was created?
I think you misunderstand the writing. As I said, man is too physical. When you hear it says as a creator, let there be light. Light is the soul of the man. I made man in the image of myself. So when you say that there be light, it means that it be the soul of the man, the existence. I made man to worship me, to confirm my existence. That's what it means. It's not the light as the stars or a solar system. These are, now we understand the position of the soul of the man and the existence of it, and in interaction with it, it can show. There is something which is fundamental for us to understand, is that how do you know the earth exists unless you put it in front of the another interaction of the field which has led to its creation? When we put the gravitational magnetic field of this earth in front of the gravitational magnetic field of this sun, we see the light of the sun, and with it we see the light of the man. Is the earth, is the light of the earth confirms the existence of the sun, or does the sun through the creation of the earth confirms its own existence? So the light, what we call the daylight, is a confirmation of that. The existence of our soul in the presence of soul of the creator shows the light, the creation of the light. But when our field interacts with it, confirms that it's brighter than us, so we exist, even being smaller. It's in the writing, it says, I made man to create children and they may love me. That it confirms me loving myself, that I can create to be loved. So when you say there must be light, when there's a light, it means I confirm my existence. There is no need, there is nobody to see the light.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mr. Kesh. This is Arza. Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
When you talk about detachment, is it the same thing as identifying? For example, I can identify with my job, I can identify with my position, I can identify with what I wear, what I eat, where I live. Is the same thing or is different? Because if I say, for example, I'm a doctor, you know, the way you stand, you know, you look at a lot of doctors when they stand up, the position they're standing, they take the identification of a doctor. So they stand erect and they take pride of it. But if you take the position identification from them, they don't stand like this. So detachment is the same thing as not having identified with what we have. Like, for example, what we do, what we have, what not we have. And detachment is the same thing. And if detachment is the same thing with identification, how can we accomplish total detachment completely? Because we live on this planet on a daily basis. We have to go about doing our job, like in a workplace, in a market, in a living process. We live in a community. How can one go about complete detachment in the process of living and being normal?
Right there, Mr. Kesh. I'm not hearing you.
You see, part of our life is always attached to something. That's how we manifest ourselves. That's how we identify ourselves. Detachment, you become detached from something, but you get more attached to something. And then it's how much you want to be detached from one point to be attached to another.
Mr. Kesh, this is exactly happened to me. What you're talking about happened to me because I'm detaching, but I realize I go and attach to something else, like a magnet. So
it confirms our existence.
So how can
if we are not attached to something, how can we confirm we exist? Even as I said, the Creator created the soul of the man to confirm his own existence, that is attached to be loved.
So
The only attachment is worth living for is loving. Now, when the man understands this, man has matured.
Okay, so we can, if we attach only to love, that...
You see, love is not kissing and cuddling or whatever. Love means giving unconditionally. And then in the process, you come to the point that you receive for what you need.
And another thing I was pondering on, thinking about, you see, when you talk about the soul in the cage, until now that we became conscious of our soul, this soul was in a cage. It's just like having a bird in a cage at home and not knowing even having a bird and just passing by it every day, not giving it water or food, and just ignore it. That's what's happening until now. Now, since we know there's a bird in a cage, now we start to feed it and pay attention to it. So that's how we can make it grow and enrich it. Am I correct?
Maybe something I can say, one of the biggest achievements, one of the biggest points of all these teachings, the new revelation, is for man to understand the existence of his soul within the physicality of the man. And is responsible for it. This is the most, maybe this is the only reason we came. But we had to take different roads to teach the man this. And if we learn that, and we learn that it doesn't need to be fed by a physical life, we can find a path to feed it or nourish it through the dimension of energy of the universe, then we succeeded.
Thank you, Mr. Kesh.
You see, detachment doesn't come in, I'll give everything I have away and everything else. I have this face every day. We let everything of the foundation to go that we could bring a lot of new dimensions into it. And by detaching from what became attached to, we are given more opportunities to be able to serve and spread and develop. We became detached. It's the cycle which we had to bring the technology into. And then through it, we became a condition of a lot of people understanding the technology, and for us to become part of the structure of a planet. We, due to the conditions that was created for us, I let everything go around the foundation because it was something which I wasn't here to do. But by letting it go, the governments came to understand they needed to be done for what it was let go. I let it go physically, but I captured the soul of the nations, the soul of the world leaders. And I see that clearly in the whole work of the foundation. It's very hard for people to understand how it works, but I go through the emotions of detaching, letting everything go. But I ask governments, I want more, because when I have more, I can serve more. And somehow nations have started listening. I don't want it for myself. I want to change the life of humanity. With that, production, factories, everything, because we could see problems. But in that time, and all the Keshe Foundation supporters who stood with us to go through this transition, allowed us to capture the world leaders, the governments. As I said, just watch this space in next coming days. We passed the weeks anymore. And then you will understand. By detaching from what we went through, we became attached to bigger scale, which does what we wanted to do. We get attached by choice of the soul. We get detached by its choice of physicality. And then the scale of the work changes. The scale of understanding changes. This is what, if I could ever let the Keshe Foundation support us to understand, we are detached totally from physical dimension. Just enough to live. Whatever comes in the foundation goes to anybody who can support at a time when it's there, and keep a very turning over time. And then we attach bigger souls. They come because it comes on its own. I don't ask, because if it's not happening, it means it's not the time for it. And because it's not the time for it, I've become detached, because over years I've learned it means it's not time for it. You're peddling too much. You're fighting for something which is not time for it. And then even the next day is the time for it. And it comes and say, I worked so long to get this done, and now, and then if you stand back, you see, it had to be the other piece of jigsaw, had to be, this is the one that's fitting now. It needs a lot of understanding of detachment. And then you find you actually get attached by the souls of the man. And then you go to the next step. We will sit down to change the course of humanity through the soul of humanity, not through the pocket and physical. The prophet of the past, they came through the pocket, to the dimension of physicality, and that's why we see all these crises. This time, as I said before, we change the soul of the man, by the man himself. If you go back to the teaching of years, past years, I always said, we have to change that every man knows there is no need for war. by himself to achieve that point, not by the point of force, pressure, and whatever. It is a part that we learn. We have no choice. The cycle of the soul of the universe has brought us to that point. It'll be interesting to see mankind in 10, 20 years. It's interesting to see, are we still going to sit in these cars? Are we still going to sit in these homes? And are we going to suffer for 2 weeks holidays? I work 2 weeks a year, but I serve humanity and I serve a man who's in pain and whatever. I spend the other 50 days do what I enjoy to serve. There's a lot of maturity coming out. It's not just in the foundation, it's coming right across the planet, because we talk through the soul of the man, not through the dimension of physicality of the man. And maturity is coming through. We still have to be busy. We still got to go to work. We still got to do something. The rent is need to be paid. The house needs to be there. You can't say, I'll feed you through my soul. But if you become wise enough, you never have a hunger to feed the physicality. This is the change which is about to come. As I said, and I say it again, you are making a shelter for the soul of the man in the universe, not a shelter in the physicality of the man for the soul of the man. If you listen to all the teaching, especially in past 10 weeks, we are going in that direction. But because you're not aware of the change, to you looks everything the other way around. We cannot change everything on this planet. It's such a small thing, it's a speck of dust to change, for the whole universe to change for mankind. Mankind has to change to fit the universal community. They have everything. They know how to handle the soul. They've been educated in the work of the universe. It's us who strives to become part of, so we have to understand how it is. If you want to be, let's say, as you said, a doctor, you have to study the medicine to understand what it is and how you can be part of it. We have to understand the work of the universe with the universal community. And then we can go in. And the only way to go to do it is through the soul of the man. This spaceship is just because you want so much of it. You want to have physicality, I want to fly. One of the knowledge seekers has found a trick. And he's playing with it. And it's so nice to see how he's playing with it. How he's playing with the soul in conjunction with the systems. We need to understand. We need to understand the work of our own soul. And that's all it is.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
You're welcome.
There's a few more questions left, Mr. Keshe, but I realize it's getting on here. We're at 3 hours, 45 minutes or something. Would you like to end the workshop now, or?
Yeah, let's see what it is. What are the questions?
Okay, we have one from Doug from earlier. It's kind of a comment and question. He would like to get your comment about it. He mentions that it's about suicide is not murder, only if the soul makes the decision and chooses the method without outside assistance. I'm not sure about that statement, what that means, but he goes on to say sometimes police officers attend a house where they find a deceased old couple in bed together. The house is neat and tidy, and they chose to leave the physicality together. Police cry with love when they see such a situation. And then he asked, maybe Mr. Kesh would like to comment on this.
You see, suicide is not allowed because you have decided to terminate between the soul and physicality, even if it's yours. It's the same as killing somebody else. It's the same. Thou shalt not kill. You're not only killing others, you're not allowed to kill your own. You are not allowed to create a separation between the soul and a soul of physicality. Doesn't matter in what dimension. And it is horrendous when you see it, if you feel it, if you understand it. It doesn't matter if you're an animal or a human or in a space. This is not separation of two souls leads to the generation of the two souls, unless they have chosen to be by themselves. You have a mother and a child in the womb of the mother, two souls. The soul of the mother is ready to release, to accept the separation from dimension of physicality. That's why the child is born. I explained this before. But the child has to reach a point of soul mass to be able to do it. We say children are premature born because we look at the physicality, but is the soul matured that doesn't need the dimension of physicality, even it looks to us they're born handicapped. Maybe the soul of that handicapped child is much stronger than yours and mine, because it has reached a point of maturity. Why do some children get born early? Has the soul reached point of maturity faster? So they're already mature when they come. Because one of them, Arman, if you see, you know why he is physically 7 months, but the soul is much maturer than many of us put together. Do we decide the dimension of the soul, which the physical life does, then the dimension of physicality? We cannot separate ours or the others, but time and balance can be done by itself. That's why we get old and we age. But the question to ask is, how come we're lasting longer than before? Has our soul become greedier, or is our physicality giving a bigger bribe to the soul of the man to stay long? What's the purpose of extending life? Do we gather a stronger soul, or does the soul of the man stays? These are the questions which in time I will answer. We have to answer. We have no choice. We are part of it.
Okay, thank you. We have a question from Rene. He has a question about fields. If we produce a GANs, then this GANs produces a field. What do I need if I want to produce the exact opposite of this field? Do I have to make another GANs, or can I convert this field? Thank you. In regards from Austria.
The answer is very easy. You're again like this man standing here and looking at the star and saying, I see the light, how can I go to it? You forget. There's a magnetic field going back to the star. It's within the GANs. When you see a GANs, it's not just a GANs, it gives fields out. It gives a field from you back to it. It's taking from you. It's taking from you what is stronger for it that it takes. It gives to you what you need to be stronger to exist. And that keeps the line of connection. That's what you call love. I give to you what you need, and you give to me what I need, but no condition. This is part of the structure of the creation. We don't make agreement with every star in the universe. I see that the star, so if I see it, it means it has created the condition of the field because I receive from it, I'm weaker than it. And at the same time, that star is taking from me because it confirms its position of existence. We have become very passive. What you see, it means there's a line of the field to us. And if you think you're the only one he sees, you might, on the other end, you give what it needs. Life in the universe, in the dimension of anything, is a barter. I give you what I don't need, you give me what I need. It's very simple.
Okay, Dan says no more prophets will come to us, but what do we do to fulfill the prophecies that must be fulfilled?
All have been fulfilled, you've been blind to it.
What about the Third World War and...
that prophecy, was it done by the prophets? Did any prophet speak about the Third World War? These are the prophecies of man, that they do something with it.
Mr. Kesh, good morning.
Yes, Mrs. Kesh, good morning.
You keep on referring that we know what we do. But in another way, if you're bringing so much knowledge, doesn't that explain, on the other hand, that we don't know what we're doing, or that we don't know what is around and about in so many ways? If the souls are communicating, how come we in person are not aware of all these communications? What's the reason behind that? You said we've seen mankind diverting to there. We make the decision. How do we bribe for our soul, for us to live longer when we are not even aware of it? That we are doing this. Then how is this process getting done? Because if you can give us an example, then maybe we can open those doors more towards it. Hello?
I'm listening.
Because we're all living by pattern, and as people, knowledge seekers have said in the past, They're searching, they're trying to understand. But we are so surrounded and submerged in survival mode. We have to take care of so much. I was explaining it yesterday. Just take a mother, if it's a mother who takes care of a family with children. It's a 24-hour job. It doesn't stop unless she can put her head down for a few hours, and when she gets up, the cycle just restarts. There is no nourishment of calmness anywhere at this given moment available. Where can even people just take a breath and say, you know something, I'm out of it for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Let somebody else take the whole responsibility of all that on top of them. A lot of people, youngsters, I was trying to give a good explanation with, you remember the 60s when so many people became gypsies and God knows, free life? And then there came a very funny comment on it and said, because they didn't know. I said, that's exactly my point. They didn't have to know anything. They just set themselves free, enjoy music, colorful clothing, going out, creating friendships, having babies. There was like a complete shutdown. But I think that was one of the most beautiful periods of where humanity chose to go to a part of creation of freedom, to set themselves free from these shackles. There was the generation who did it. We all know Woodstock and what the freedom brought for that generation. But our children, if I said I'm passing universities, when you see people passing, these are our future generation, and they're like mummies passing. They don't smile, they don't laugh, they have no pleasure. They're just like going in a military shape form to conduct something and then to come out and to go home and to do more work. But they haven't chosen for that. It's the choice has been made for them. Our children are no longer children. Our parents have no more time for themselves. That was my reason why I was asking you. We have to break the chain somewhere.
Carolina, can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
You see, when you talk about people don't have time, and somebody is raising children or we're doing survival mode, because that's the problem. Because once you start thinking about everything is survival, then there's no life. But when we have life, even somebody who takes care of a child, that's life. I mean, the only thing is we think is work, because there's no such a thing as work and non-work. Everything we do is just, you have to be alive. Once you're alive, no matter what's your plate, you just do it. And then you don't get tired, because everything is a pleasure. And the reason we think about that, because we think we are responsible only for things that we do. But for example, if I say I'm responsible, it means I'm responsible for everything in the world. It means I have unlimited responsibility, but I have limited responses, because my response can be limited, but my responsibility is worldly. I'm responsible for the whole universe. So when I take that, when I step out of the door, if I have a child to take care of, I will take care of a child. If I see something else as I'm capable, I do it too. But the only thing is, we think everything is work, but it's not life. Life is everything is life. Even taking care of a child or running 24 hours. But the minute you step out of that mentality, because this is a physicality, we define. This is work, this is not work, I want to sit for a minute. Because even the time you're taking care of a child, you're alive and you're enjoying it so much that you don't even get tired. You don't have to sit for a minute. That's how we define it. So that's the thing. And talking about the soul communication, if you're not listening, you're not hearing the soul, but you can listen. The soul communicate all the time. You can hear it. But the only thing is, it's just like a pipeline. You know, if you have your pipeline is flooded with for example, a stuff in it, there's no communication. If you have a faucet or something, water doesn't go down, it's clogged. When you open it, there's a direct communication. You just have to open that. Once you open it, is a constant communication. I mean, on a regular basis, because every moment, every walk you do, you just have to breathe slowly and be life itself. Life itself is 24/7 joy in every single cell. That you just don't, it doesn't, even in the moment of so much work, but you feeling so much joy and you don't know where is it coming from. And there's no tiredness. It just conditioning the body, because physicality can, because I have gone through this experience, physicality goes through so much emotion in the past. If you're gone, it blocks everywhere that there is no life in it. Become like a rigid, like just a broken tree or dead tree. But once you release all those energy from the body, let the body move in a correct direction, it's just like a live just tree. Just with every breeze, it moves the leaves and everything. Everything you do, you can feel it. You can feel everything. You can feel everything that you surround. You can feel by the tree. You feel it. You can even hear the soul of the trees. Is fascinating how when we change the physical soul, everything changes, everything shifts. But the problem is we have to find out what is it that we gathered through our lifetime, to our experiences, to our growing up, our parents' conditioning, the society, what believing, what we were told, and release all those emotions from our system, our physical soul. Once it's released, then the connections start to come in. You're just nourishing it. I don't know if I'm being clear.
Oh, I do understand you. But if you look around you, the positioning of our future children or next generation, doesn't matter, in 10 steps, 10 different ages, they have no taste of life. They're getting trained to be as numb as possible.
But that's why we're changing it, you know. So once we change, the change would come in. Because if you look at the new children, if you look at them, they're totally different. I mean, they're not going for what the parents went for. I mean, because we're creating new environment for them. I mean, this is our hope. Well, at least I think.
You see, if you look at it, when I was young, my parents said, they're wasting their life. Oh, what is this you do? What is that you do? You don't do this way, you don't do that way. See what it made us, this new generation. And if you look at it, those of us who are in 40s, 50s, and 60s, we are the ones who made these nations. Our forefathers, our fathers set the ground for it. The new technological development changes to where we are now is done by our generation and by our father's generation, not the generation before. And in so many ways, we built on our generation. What's such a rapid revolution, and evolution in science, in technology, in everything else, is our generation, 60s, 70s, when they told us you're absolutely hippies, you do nothing, black, long hair, torn jeans, discoing every night. And if those of us who did that way has made such a condition now to become more materialistic, yeah, and build all these buildings, these old industries, technologies, sciences, even philosophies, we haven't done that bad. Why do we think where our children are going? They go to much better places than we did. They don't need to work. They don't need to worry about the electricity bill. They don't need to worry about where I'm going to get the next food. Because with the teachings of today, we have made the ground, their soul is aware that our soul has worked the physicality out, that they're gonna have such a beautiful life. I think our next generation are gonna live the lap of luxury. I think our children, our grandchildren, from what is coming, what is about to come, the life will change. There is an industrial revolution. It's a soul revolution. You're not aware, there's a lot of holding back, but there's a lot of going forward. Our children have to play these computer games. They have to understand these world of imagination that when reality comes, it's not aliens to them. We are preparing our children. In a way, we say all these crazy computer games they play, but if you think beyond it, forget about this animal-less, this killing system they put into these machines, games. But looking at the totality of the structure, we are preparing our generation that they will not touch any war games, but we are preparing them to be ready for when it comes. Our generation was ping pong ball on the telephone or in the computer. Now our generation, our children are beyond what we could even imagine that time. They're going to have a fantastic time. We are preparing them with these computer games. We are preparing them with the knowledge we put in for the soul. The soul is aware the change is coming. We have to be as fast as outside. For us to change a gearbox is too much. They rapidly play 100 different games every second. And just watch the television nowadays. I love watching football, but the new generation, they go to stadium, thousands of them, watching how fast the other one can play the computer game. I can watch it on television, but I go to be part of. Football is too slow because the soul is getting ready for the speed. We are preparing our next generation, but we don't see it. The soul is aware of the change to come. Look at the streets. We're putting how many millions of cars a year on the street? 100 years ago, they were all donkeys and horses, and we walked barefooted. In next 100 years, these are the things as part of the evolution. They live a life, we don't need these cars, we can do different things. When I look at the new generation in their teenagers, they are the ones who are going to benefit by all the teachings you are doing, all the ganses you are doing, people who are coming into it and finding new energies, finding new way to explain it, to do it. We are preparing our children for the future of the technology we are about to release, and it's going on. And I don't think our future generation is going to suffer. I don't think our future generation is going to have a bad time. They're going to have a fantastic time, but we are training them. Our society is training them for a fast life, the speed of light, beyond the speed of light. We have chosen that path thanks to Nintendo and other computer games. I know it's rough. When we were young, our parents said, "Oh, you're wasting your time listening to those bang bang music. What is going on? And why do you go to discos till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning?" I think most of us born around 60s, 70s, 80s know exactly what we're talking about. That freedom allowed us to create a new freedom, but not everybody understands our freedom can change some things for the others. It's not bad. The next generation is going to be one of the best generations. Our children in teenage years are the ones which are going to see the fruit of the peace. These are the ones which then they have the tools, they have the knowledge, they have the expertise to become part of the universal community, because they have learned from time coming, the arms are not there. They'll be brought up in the land of evolution of new sciences they can be part of. And it's fantastic. I don't see the youngsters of today, even a lot of parents think, are wasting their time. We are preparing them unknowingly knowingly right across the world. You go to Africa, in the villages, they still play Nintendo. They all have these telephone games. The same game as the guy plays in New York. He pays for it, he hacks it, but at the same time, it doesn't mean his knowledge is lower. And we are preparing our children. We have created that environment. It's a beautiful time coming for our next generation. What we dreamt about of one day will happen in centuries, we have created a condition. It happens with our children before even we leave this planet. Many of us will see the evolution of the soul of the man. The only thing they will learn is how to be peaceful. I was watching something yesterday. In the United States, 28,000 people have been shot. And when they put the map of America with the shooting which goes on, it's all red dots. Do we have that in Iran? Do we have that in China? Do we have that in Australia? We are learning through so many things that the wireless doesn't pay. The games will change. I see the games becoming, at the moment, if you look, it's one pattern. Kill as much as you can, jump as much as you can, but these are the speeds which brings the condition of the knowledge. I don't agree with the wars and the things, but in the long run, we are preparing these children for the high speed reaction, living, expectation of beyond. Nothing to them is strange. Nowadays, you just look what's going on in Europe with the football. What are we looking? What if you look? I'll tell you something. In 1976, when I went to Manchester from London to study, I came to know a Pakistani guy. Extremely Pakistani looking, mustache and dark skin. And he was a football lover, like me. He said, we go to see Manchester City. We went to the match on a Saturday afternoon to watch Manchester City playing. The time I was standing, those time wasn't seated, I was standing. I can say, I can't even know the number of coins they threw at him. He was a foreigner. It was a shame to go. I said to him, why do you go here that you get attacked like this all the time? He said, I love the game. This doesn't matter. I can take 10 coins, 20 coins hit at me. And when the black footballer in 1976, 75 came on the ground, the whole opposition, if you go, they used to go monkey book, hoo, 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 hoo. And it was a shame to be. Now you look at the football, it's all black players. Even in Germany, that Hitler was so racist. I watched Bayern Munich and I watched the others watch playing, and it's a lot of black players. I said, he must be turning over his grave. And now we see it emerging again. The racism is coming back into the football. Why? If in the Western world, the color of the skin of the man is important for the man who wants to go to enjoy, it means the man is not matured enough. Then what do you do when you see a Martian green and pink and blue? Man has not matured. In 40 years, 45 years, with everything became punishable if you do this, punishable, it hasn't changed the man. He's still booze, and you hear what happened in Italy and in Germany and in European games in past few weeks. The racism has gone beyond. Because the clubs are paying so much money trying to bring people in and they lose. Where do they divert the anger of the loss of the mismanagement on the black guy on the ground? Or whatever. So this is what I say, it's no use teaching the man, changing the man, taking the arms out. We have to change the soul of the man. And the clear example of it is what we see now. clear example of it. It's one of the most beautiful games in the world, has become so much entangled in racism. And if the color of the skin of the man is still a problem for the white man, we got a huge problem going. We haven't changed it. It's no use we creating peace when there is still in the habit of the soul of the man is war, killing. You got to understand, mankind needs to be wise and prudent and learn the benefit of the peace. When I look at the China, when I look at Iran, when I look at the countries who are advancing very rapidly in science, in technology, in what they call it, nation building, even though the others trying to force it to create a condition is bad, are the nations who have the finances to work through the peace. Even though part of that, this peace is to create a defense that we can keep the house quiet at peace. If you don't put these huge sanctions on Chinese commodities, I'll call Mr. Tariff Man, as he calls himself, President Trump, who's paying for the damages? Americans. You have to understand why America, why President Trump is putting so much pressure on other nations. America has borrowed billions of dollars over the past 30, 40, 50 years, and Chinese have bought the papers to support them, and then they have to borrow them. So now the papers are coming payable. There's a lot of debts of America, which has been bought on borrowed times from other nations. Papers are becoming payable. They're due. It's like you have a mortgage on the house, and the mortgage is due 1st of June. You sell the jewelry, you sell the car, anywhere to have the money to pay the bill. These, what they call Mr. Tariff Man, doesn't tell the truth to his nation. Bills America has borrowed for 40, 50 years are coming to fruition. You have to be paid. The only people who can pay is the Americans. It's a cash on delivery. $1,000 per person in America, per family, pays for the interest of the debts the fathers and themselves borrowed to have a luxury house in their life. They don't tell the truth to the people. And then what does it do? They have to push for wars to sell arms that they have the money in, guarantees they can borrow more money just to keep the nation. The American government, the American society was going to collapse under the debts they borrowed to create so much war. You say why the Americans are pushing with the tariff straight away. Suddenly tomorrow morning is the Canadians, and then tomorrow is the Mexicans, the day is after Indians, because the reality is the debts are coming due payable. And the only way you can do it, you can sell the jewelry in the house to pay for the mortgage. And jewelry in the house is Americans paying money, taxes on their income. But they're very so clever, they turn it as it's a problem of the Chinese importing goods. No, darling, America is due to go bankrupt. And nobody's buying their papers anymore, not even their own banks. Then we create mayhem, we create condition of war. For what reason? Because we don't tell the truth to our people that, you know something, we have to pay the bills you borrowed. You bought the Nintendos, you borrowed the color television, we didn't have to pay from China. This mask of Mr. Tariff Man is not him. Mr. Tariff Man has to pay the bills. His father made all the money and they spent it. Now it's due, and there's no other way. So the essence has become now wars with nations, creating condition. Everybody is wrong, but the truth is not told to the nation. Mr. Tariff Man has bills to pay in September. American nation doesn't understand. They are due. You haven't spent the money, now it's time to pay. And there is nothing to sell except getting your nation to pay for it. He doesn't go to the nation to say, guys, You lot lived a good life for a long time. The bills have come to you. We have to pay. How much is it? That much. That way, other nations would have helped. But making enemies overnight, he wakes up, now we are short, a bill is coming tomorrow, it's an electricity bill. I have to sell the fridge today, the other one. This guy doesn't sell fridges. He taxes people, but blaming the others, you don't look at my pocket. Because he wasn't part of the promise he made to his nation. We are realistic. And if what I told you will come, the Americans start killing each other. 28,000 last year. They start killing more and more of each other because I have to feed my child. In Christmas, every American family is short by $1,000 for the taxes they put on, but they blame the Chinese. They blame the wall of the Mexican. They did for this. No, darling. America has to pay his debts. If he doesn't tax you, he's selling the house. People have to become educated what's going on. We hear today, Russia and China, the big economies of the world, don't touch the dollar anymore because it's due to bankrupt. As of now, just go on the press, China has refused and Russia has refused to trade between each other in dollars. They deal in their local currency, bartering the way you used to do on the Silk Road. Because America is due to be bankrupt. It's there, and Chinese are not buying any more promissory notes in the bank to support them. They went the wrong way. We kept you going, but you want to play the game? Now you pay yourself. Chinese are crying, yes, the tariff, but the total export of China to America is less than 1 to 1.5% of the total national GDP. It won't even touch them. They sell their rubbish there and they get paid and they're more in debt. But Americans have to pay. What's going to happen? The only way left is wars to stop. That says we cannot go to the war. He's a very wise man. We are not spending any more on defense. Because we don't have the money to spend. I can't tell the people. The game of war is over. They have sold all the jewelry, they sold all the pots and pans in the house. Now, boys, whatever you got in your saving pocket, piggy bank, is to be paid for us to come to. But we blame next door neighbor came and robbed. Did we blame the guy down the road we broke in? But we actually had to break the pot because we have to pay. American administration doesn't like me talking. Because they know we are aware we don't get fooled. We see the soul of the man. The only possibility left, let's come to peace with Iran, that we get some, or they get them to order some more Boeings and something else, and we fine. And we still blame the Iranian because they're Muslims. It doesn't solve the problem. We have to learn that there is no use making tools of wars. The American debt is on the wars which the British put them under. And now the Americans have to pay because they were there to be. They start killing each other in mass. 28,000, just look at the map I was watching today. It's just red. West Coast, East Coast, just a little bit north of Mexico is a bit less. They're killing each other. We don't need to do anything else. And then there is not enough of them to buy. Who cares? So, are we training ourselves for a peace? Yes, we're on the right move. The whole humanity is moving toward peace because the wars has been paid and nations are hungry. We cannot put them in the war. The 1930s did not solve the problem. 1940s, the wars did not solve the problem. Late 20s, it didn't work. The rest of the nations are going 5 and 6 and 10%. If you look at the arm buying of the nation is higher than before, yes, because Americans are giving free credit. I buy it. Because by the time I have to pay, there won't be in America to pay. You can have your arms back. The new technology in science has made the war's obsolete. It's, as I said, this was like a war of China. It was fantastic. Nobody could come over till we invented aeroplanes and the helicopters. It's over. And nobody's prepared to invest more in making war machines, because now everybody's directly into it. Everybody will have what's the use of doing it. But in the process, we are developing beautiful technologies. Our next generation, if you have children and grandchildren in early teens, they are going to live the life of God. We have provided them, we are providing them, we are developing. They can live 200 or 300. They don't have to go to work. They sit in the room, play a computer game, and we have machinery that it feeds their body, enhances their soul. They feel happy, and if they need, they can have whatever they feel like it. We put it in a gas machine, and with dynamic system we feed them. They don't feel hungry. We are training people to be in their lifetime of traveling the space without getting bored and throwing a stone at each other. The life of the man has keyed up just about the right time. And millions of our present generation are walking into computer games, walking into understanding there is another dimension faster, they can do things, and now we just teach them a little bit more. And our grandchildren will live a life we could never imagine. The same as our grandfathers come here, they were here 100 years ago, they can't imagine the life we live. They had to go to find a chicken to kill it. Now you tell a child about the chicken comes from a supermarket. Never seen a chicken farm. I don't see problem with the future and our children. They have everything because we are facilitating, and their soul is aware of the change. They have to learn to be, if they decide to be in the physical travel, going to another space. You go to planet Zeus, there is no video game, there is nothing else. I brought something with me, I keep busy, I explore. I don't need to kill. It's a fantastic time with what we see coming up. It's harsh for us. We are the last generation of mankind which suffers so much. And it will change. The future is bright for humanity if the man does not go and do a stupid thing which the other souls don't let it happen. It was, as I started today, people don't understand the news, don't understand what is behind it. You got to understand. Vatican has to plan, the Masons have to plan to get an American president, to get an American army, to take a ship which carries their name, to go to another country to start a war, and it doesn't happen. You remember I told you about the Frankfurt mission accomplished? With this Masons, shame is accomplished to be a warrior. And the press, if you read it, what they publish on the word of the captains of the ship which went in Mason is, if you understand what he says, he has, in a way, he has clearly indicated, and we saw it last time when the Russians got them in the Black Sea. American realized they don't have the power anymore to do what they like. They had to go, we recommend to the Pentagon, we don't want war. The captain of the ship, Masons, this is his word, he says that he was in cold sweat when, as one of the most powerful naval forces, could not get in touch with his base. We knew this when it happened, but we keep listening. Now it's published, we can tell you. When a captain of the most powerful navy in the world, the most powerful ship, has a cold sweat, it means I have nothing to protect my people, I'm getting out. And He actually shipped out the same path as he came to start war. The game is over. We are in for a path of peace. And our next generation have to learn to be home, to be calm, keep busy with computer games, and we give them everything. These gases you produce with food in it is not just for you and us, it's the progressive development in feeding nations. If you want to chew, there is a food that I don't want to go out, but I want to be, I don't feel hungry because all the food I need is given to me by the system set up. We create a peaceful nation. We create a peaceful nation as one nation. We can free it, elevate the soul of the man, very, very easy. It's the most amazing time coming when our new generation will benefit by it. What are they going to do? We don't want them to do anything, because when they don't do anything, they don't get up to mischief. How many times us in 70s came home and the papa said, boy, what time do you call this coming home? You don't get fed up of all this banging and noises and everything else? No, because our generation was a pre-holder to what is come with our children and grandchildren. We started it because our soul was aware the time has come to move on to the faster dimension. And now with all these technologies and everything else, we are preparing for our next generation not to sell anymore, but to create a condition of peaceful that they can enjoy. Thank you very much for today.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kesh. Thank you once again for another Knowledge Seekers workshop here. Is there anything else we need to say before we end today's workshop?